Voices of Disruption, Reimagining Mahabharata's Aftermath through Mahasweta Devi's After Kurukshetra. One of India's best writers, Mahasweta Devi, advocated vehemently for the rights of women, tribal people, and Adivasis. She generally wrote her novels and short stories in Bangla before having them translated into Hindi and English. Mahasweta Devi, a social activist and a best-selling author in Bengali, has made contributions to literary and cultural studies in this country. Her tales are powerfully woven into haunting tales of exploitation and struggle. After Kurukshetra, which was translated from Bengali and released in 2005. The first story, After Kurukshetra, begins right after the end of the Great Holy War at Kurukshetra. But instead of giving us an account of the heroes of the war, Devi takes us on a journey to know the lives of those neglected and destroyed by the war. Yet Devi succeeds in producing a clear, vocal critique of the Mahabharata. She writes,
"This, a holy war. A righteous war? Just call it a war of greed."
Now let's get into the intricacies of After Kurukshetra. The five women, Panchkanya. The focus of Devi's opening tale in After Kurukshetra is five widowed women. The husbands of these women are from the Janavrita, common people, and they lost their lives in battle at Kurukshetra. When Devi writes, "The soil of Kurukshetra was burned rock hard by the funeral fires," she devastatingly conveys the carnage and desolation of this holy battle. The five women in Kuruksetra's story are unable to return to their village because they are unable to cross the battlefield, where so many funeral pyres have been lit that the ground itself resembles waves of angry heat. They came to watch the battle in the hopes that their husbands would return home safely. The five women, Gautami, Gomathi, Yamuna, Vitasta, and Vipasha, are persuaded to join Uttara, a pregnant woman whose husband Abhimanyu had perished in the battle. The five female companions in Uttara, a member of the Rajavrita, have diverse perspectives on widowhood, according to Devi's tale in After Kurukshetra, royal household. The five ladies lament their anguish, laugh, and talk to one another as Uttara is caught in the middle of conventional limitations. They also tell Uttara that tradition requires them to go back to their village and be remarried. A young woman named Uttara wonders if her own days of innocent naivete will ever come back to her at this point. In her story After Kurukshetra, Devi discusses how women become victims of battle in patriarchal societies. The five ladies mourn the loss of their husbands, as well as the loss of their workers and landowners who farmed it. Since the Janavrita women face economic exploitation and reliance in addition to what appears to be more mobility, Devi aims to highlight this discrepancy in After Kurukshetra. The only thing that can restore their financial security once their husbands pass away is another man, and another marriage. The second story follows Kunti and the Nishad in conversation. Kunti is the subject of After Kuruksetra's second tale. Kunti promises to live the rest of her life in the jungle with Dhritarashtra and Gandhari after the conflict. Kunti spends her time caring for the elderly couple and reflecting on her own mistakes that contributed to the outbreak of the war. She frequently finds herself sitting in the wilderness and making excuses for the secrets she kept and the petty demands she made of Karna. She frequently observes a Nishadan, a member of the uncivilized Nishad tribe who spends time foraging and hunting in the forest, listening to her apologize aloud. The Nishadan's presence is ignored by Kunti because she is aware that they are unable to comprehend her language. That in After Kurukshetra is a story of retribution and revenge stemming from a selfish act of injustice. To Kunti, the bodies of the Nishadans were so killable that they could not even find a mention of her guilt. For Nishadan, however, it was yet another act in the systemic marginalization of her people, the Rajavritas, who took thousands of lives as collateral damage in their own game of brother versus brother. After Kurukshetra manages to make it stand out surprisingly well in the conversation between Kunti and Nishadan. Devi's sharp words on caste and class divisions stand true even today in the 21st century. It's as if she is saying that the war is for the privileged and by the privileged. The last tale focuses on Savali, who was respected as a spouse in the same manner that Gandhari was by the blind Dhritarashtra. But Savali never learns who her wife is. Instead of being seen as the son of Dhritarashtra, her son is seen as the son of a Desai. It should be remembered that Yuyutsu, referred to here as Savalya, is ostensibly the only surviving son of Dhritarashtra during the Battle of Kurukshetra. By refusing to participate in the funeral rites, she establishes herself as a rebel. In After Kurukshetra, Devi appears to have given more attention to the episodes from the Mahabharata that are hidden inside the text. She barely ever mentions the Kauravas, Pandavas, or any other wartime heroes. There is a noticeable bitterness there when she does mention them. Savali is one of these tales. Yuyutsu, Dhritarashtra's sole living child, is asked to conduct the funeral ceremonies after his passing. He leads the last rituals and goes back to Savali's hut. The mother and son talk about how the Kauravas treated them unfairly and ostracized them. If there are any sacrifices to Devi, they are Rajavrita, victims of their own greed, power and arrogance. The reasons, Devi says, for their own downfall. If we approach the stories from a feminist perspective, we can argue that both the Rajavrita and Lokavrita women have experienced their fair share of marginalization. However, when we learn more, we realize that the Lokavrita women experience double oppression. By the male sex first, followed by the ladies who are regarded as being of royal birth. In After Kurukshetra, these Lokavrita women exhibit traits like fearlessness that are unique to the Kshatriya caste. The Shudras or Vaishyas are the owners of the Lokavrita. To conclude, in all these stories of the volume After Kurukshetra, the royal house becomes the oppressor, but the polyphony and heterogeneity of female voices of Mahasweta dislodges the omniscient narrative voice of Vyasa. It is obvious that until the collective consciousness of society is heaved and impelled into invalidating the venerable paradigm of caste, class, and gender hegemony towards a more egalitarian society, the Lokavrita or Janavrita will continue to suffer.